Kael'thas and Denathrius return, and we will summon them. Guys, I've been talking about Denathrius' return ever since we got into the prey system, and I started looking at that thing a little bit more. That whole prey system really is reminiscent of Revendreth and all the anima, or the soul power and shit that they were sucking out. It has the red coloration, the red gems. All of it was just very interesting. And then somebody mentioned that the NPC who you talk to initiate prey systems very much has the same sounding voice actor as Sire Denathrius. I don't know what's going on there. Now, he's an old lore character. He's been around for a while, but it's very possible that he's been killed off, or maybe he no longer exists, and Sire Denathrius, as a freaking Nathrezim, has made himself look like him, or he is in fact serving Sire Denathrius. There's a ton of connections here that I think people are starting to put together in terms of his possible return in Midnight. So let's see what this one's all about here as we jump straight in.
So the former loyal
Video from Dorn, by the way.
servant and advisor of Kael'thas just started a prey system operation not sanctioned by Silvermoon, where he's using the chaos of Midnight and is using us to gather this anguish energy that looks and behaves almost exactly like the anima from the Shadowlands.
I didn't pre-watch it, okay, but I'm just, it's obvious that's what it looks like. I said this yesterday. I said this live on stream, and you guys are not going to back me up right now because you guys are a bunch of fucking degens. I said that same exact line before this video was even on YouTube yet. So how the fuck are you going to say I pre-watched this shit?
At the same time, Kael'thas was essentially redeemed at the end of the Shadowlands, and Denathrius himself was set to return. His entire story ended on a cliffhanger. Could something sinister be going on, and are we just being used? Could this guy be a Dreadlord trying to get Denathrius in on the saga, or could it be an old Kael'thas loyalist trying to get his former master back? What is everything we currently know? Warhammer, Red Dead Redemption, WoW, Game Time, Destiny, you can get all of this at amazing prices with my link in the description below. You also got mobile top-ups, software, a bunch more with the best prices on the market. Better yet, if you use my code DORON, you will get another discount on top, so click the link in the description and get the best deals ever at Gamivo. So, we've been talking about the return of Kael'thas and Denathrius for quite a while now, especially Denathrius, since his ending back in Shadowlands was just a complete cliffhanger. We never actually defeated him, he freed himself. It was obvious.
One really interesting thing, Decimus, right? We talked about him, I went through the whole quest line with him yesterday, and he was a very interesting character. And you remember when he was interacting with Lothraxion, and he mentioned freaking Dreadlords and the Nathrezim. Like, he's talking to him. He talks to him about Dreadlords as if he knows who they are. Like, Decimus knows who Dreadlords are. He's seen them before, evidently, or interacted with them at some point to know as much as he does. He's talking to him in a way where he's not shocked by Lothraxion in terms of who he is. He's kind of shocked that he's interacting with the light the way he is. And I've said this many times before. Lothraxion, man, you got to watch him. I don't know what the hell, why the Army of the Light would allow a Dreadlord in the first place. But yeah, interesting stuff. So there are already Dreadlord tie-ins, Nathrezimi tie-ins with this expansion. So wouldn't be surprised if those little threads start to lead to a storyline here where we get a return of them and their relevance in the expansion.
Is that he was freed. I mean, we had him betraying the jailer essentially, and it was clear he was working on his own completely independent plan. Based on that lore, his entire Dreadlord ordeal was obviously his own mission, where he played with everyone from the Titans to the Legion, and he influenced the events on Azeroth as well. With this ancient plan he's been working on, in what way would he not be in on what is currently going on Azeroth? I mean, he is technically the true creator of the Scourge in a way, directly responsible for the Legion as well. Furthermore, it was confirmed that the entire World Soul Saga ending is going to really deal.
He's everything the jailer wanted to be, right? The jailer was making it seem like he fucking did it. He planned everything. All of the Lich King and everything was his idea. The truth is, it was the Nathrezim and the Dreadlords playing major roles in all this shit. We're talking about the culling of Strathome, pushing Arthas to go where he went, eventually leading to a lot of that stuff. The Nathrezim, the freaking Scarlet Crusade, all of that shit, the Nathrezim played major roles, just sitting in their disguises, influencing people in certain ways. These guys have been playing roles all across the cosmos for eons, generations. So no surprise if they're playing some sort of role on the Void side of things as well.
With this ancient mechanism that is holding the universe together, it's going to be a final battle type scenario where someone is going to win, and all the cosmological forces are going to be involved. So based on this, his return is almost guaranteed. The only way I can see him not coming back is if Blizzard is just trying to ignore Shadowlands ever really happened. On the
I don't think they should do that. They have kind of retconned Shadowlands in a way with some of the Sylvanas voice lines where she talks about how this whole thing is not natural. She's kind of, in a way saying that this is not the correct afterlife, and all this lore about the afterlife that we learned is not actually what's supposed to happen when you die in World of Warcraft. Beyond that, we know that Sire Denathrius and his voice actor Blizzard talked very positively of them. The whole community responded very positively to him as a character. So his return wouldn't be a shocker. They left him on a cliffhanger. They kind of they still have him out there in a way, and he would be a popular character to return. Whether or not the Shadowlands expansion was popular, we all know it wasn't. But him as a character, and even his raid, Castle Nathri, I think was a shining spot in otherwise a shit-stained expansion.
On the other hand, we have Kael'thas, who is in a bit of a weird spot. I mean, Blizzard really turned him into a villain all of a sudden for no reason back at TBC. He was obviously a good guy and someone who would sacrifice his life for his people back in Warcraft 3. Then, over time, the Fel corruption got to him and he started serving the Legion, he betrayed his people, tried to actually invade Kael'thas. Now, interesting thing we noticed is that they actually removed his statues from Silvermoon. We just saw as Midnight was released that his statue was found at the bottom of the sea, so obviously the Blood Elves don't like this guy. However, we did get his story back in Revendreth and Shadowlands. He was a relatively major character in the expansion, and the way his thing ended was that he was essentially redeemed. He was arrogant and everything, but he went through this redemption process. Now,
we had that boss fight with him where, he's kind of, we're helping him and he's helping us kind of thing. So yeah, he was somewhat redeemed.
Obviously, we've recently learned that the entire Shadowlands realm is just pure BS, just like this energy farming simulation. It's not the real afterlife at all. So realistically, who knows how possible it is to even actually return back to the material plane. I mean, we know whoever built the Shadowlands, and it's hinted to be the Titans, they created a mechanism for some to be able to return to the material plane with enough energy. This happened through Ardenweald and the World Tree, so it is definitely possible. Now, on to why I'm actually talking about this, and something interesting players have noticed that now that Midnight is out. So if you've seen what Blizzard they released this new feature called the Praise System, which is like this open world challenge where you mark yourself as the hunter, but you...
By the way, I feel like people have been enjoying the Praise System for the most part. I don't know how relevant it's going to continue to be. I've said this before, once the season starts, it seems like it's a bit under-geared in terms of loot for an actual season to kick off, people to continue to do it. But I think preseason wise, people have been enjoying the prey system.
Can also be the prey and you get suddenly attacked and ambushed. Now, this is not really that big of a deal. I mean, just like a new interesting gameplay addition, like this new mechanism, until you kind of start digging a bit into the lore behind this entire thing. So this entire prey thing is actually created by a guy called Astalor Bloodsworn, Magister Astalor Bloodsworn. The entire ordeal is completely shady. It's not sanctioned at all by the Silvermoon's government, but they're kind of letting it slide as they need any help they can currently get, and the prey headquarters are the headquarters of Astalor. Interesting enough, what he seems to be getting out of this is anguish, the extraction of anguish from the targets, which players have noted suspiciously not only look almost exactly like Anima back from the Shadowlands, but it also behaves oddly similar in a very similar manner. It seems like the entire...
Yeah, I mean, we're extracting anguish technically in the Shadowlands. I believe in Revendreth, they were extracting like sins or something from them. If you remember, that's why Garrosh was considered to be like this fantastic font of power. They just kept extracting shit from him because I guess he had sinned so much in his life. So that whole thing is supposed to like purify the soul, technically. We find out later on that this whole thing's kind of bullshit and it's not working the way it's supposed to. But so anguish kind of sounds like you're extracting some of the same shit, and the magic, just the look of it, is very similar to the looks we saw back then. Astalor manipulated Anima from Pandaria. Oh, look at that. I know Astalor as a character. He's been around this is not his first appearance in the game. He's definitely done shit, and he's a very shady character. So where his allegiances lie and everything, the fact that Silvermoon is kind of iffy on this whole thing too, interesting stuff from him.
Operation is just a front for him to gather this anima-like energy that he doesn't exactly explain what he's really doing with this. Now,
we're just loading it into this crystal.
Dig in a bit into his background, we can start connecting some dots. So Astalor is actually an OG Blood Elf, one of the most notable ones as well. He was actually a direct advisor and a very loyal servant of Kael'thas himself back in the day. He is the guy that was involved directly in the enslavement of the Naru and ciphering his magics when Kael'thas himself brought him back. He's very well versed.
I didn't know he was very close to Kael'thas. That's interesting.
On blood magic, and he co-founded the Blood Knight Order, which originally were paladins only on paper, but really they were just extracting and siphoning this energy. So this guy has not only been dealing in very shady and dangerous magics, but he was also very close to Kael'thas himself. Now, as all of this is happening, he seems to be gathering this anguish energy from targets and collecting it for an unknown purpose. I mean, surely immediately he seems to be using this magic to empower magical defenses and enhance weapons, but that could just be a front as well. While it could of course be a reach, you gotta admit, this whole thing is really...
Even his armor, look at his armor. It looks like it's empowered by the same magic. He's got this cool gem here in the center, the glowing red on his shoulders.
Really shady. I mean, the guy has headquarters in a place called the Murder Row. He's extracting anguish and organizing a manhunt for the enemies of Kael'thas, and he's gathering this very strange energy that is surprisingly really similar to the anima used in Kael'thas. If you remember from the Shadowlands, the entire realm essentially operated on anima. I mean, the whole Shadowlands operation, as I said, seems to really also be a front for gathering anima and transferring it to the Death Realm so that it can survive. The Machine of Death was broken, so the Jailer was getting everything. That is why he got so powerful, and Ardenweald was facing a drought. Ardenweald in the Shadowlands is like a regeneration realm where they use anima through the cocoons to revive certain characters back into the material plane. When they were facing...
I want that pale skin on my Void Elf. Wait, I already got that. Yeah, I think regular Blood Elves also get the pale skin option if they make them a Death Knight, I believe.
In the drought, they had to sacrifice these beings and the revival just to sustain themselves. So realistically, we know there is a mechanism where if you gather enough anima, you can bring back characters to the realm. Why people have connected is because this guy is obviously dealing in shady magics and might know how to do exactly something like this. I mean, to bring just a single character like Kael'thas or potentially someone a lot more powerful like Denathrius wouldn't really take a crazy amount of energy now that Shadowlands have been operational once again. I mean, obviously it takes a crazy amount of energy, but why not use the chaos that is currently going on in Midnight and Kael'thas, get people to think that they're empowering themselves and helping while they just farm
actually
this
empowering
energy for you. Even crazier, he's collecting this type of energy. As I said, it is very oddly...
Would it be the first time that we collect a bunch of energy and it turns out we were collecting it for the wrong person? And that's literally the entirety of the Shadowlands expansion. And we don't learn our lessons ever in this game. If somebody tells us, hey, there's some loot available, we'll go kill this thing, we're going to go mindlessly kill it. That's like a lore trope of the players in the game. So yeah, it wouldn't be a shocker if it turns out that all this freaking energy we've been collecting through the prey system was actually used against us in some way.
Similar to anima. And the gods Kael'thas, I don't really know. Personally, I did expect his redemption could be possible, as after all, he was a good guy until Blizzard decided to suddenly villainize him. But you can attribute a lot of his bad deeds to just fell magic corrupting his mind. I mean, obviously he was able to redeem himself in Revendred, so he wasn't just like this black and white.
He's almost like the Arthas of the High Elves, right? I mean, his whole thing was he was trying to save his people. He literally went out to the Outlands trying to save his people. The only issue is, you know, kind of like Arthas, where corruption eventually got to his mind. It was all the play with the fell magic. The fell magic eventually got to him, and it's no shocker there. I mean, you had Medivh, the guardian of the world, of the entirety of Azeroth, the most powerful mage around. Even he couldn't fight against the fell corruption. He eventually fell to it too. So no shocker that we saw the same thing happen with Kael'thas.
Villain.
But he wasn't a bad guy. He just got corrupted.
I think he would be the new ruler, but something is possible. I mean, I could see his former advisor working on a project like this. It would make sense. However, seeing that they also just threw his statue to the bottom of the sea, I'm not certain how receptive the Blood Elves would be of his return. On the other hand, the entire...
That's right. His statue's not there in Silvermoon after the remodel. I didn't even know that there's his statue's actually in the ocean. That's funny.
Nathrezim ordeal could even be crazier. As I said, his return has already been set up. We never actually defeated the Dreadlords. They legit freed him at the end of the story, and we never got a follow-up. This guy could be a Dreadlord working for him that is gathering this to summon him to complete his plan. Maybe the Nathrezim could even take on the form of Kael'thas, or it could be some other Dreadlords. Of course, it is possible that it isn't much deeper than this, but Just think about it. I mean, former advisor and loyal servant of Kael'thas, with a history of dealing in shady stuff, suddenly starting this operation, not sanctioned by Silvermoon. He's suddenly just gathering this really suspicious energy. There could really be something crazy going on behind this entire prey ordeal. Thank you for watching. Check out the Yamani may be summoning the Legion as well on the new isle by clicking on the screen, and subscribe to my brand new Witcher Lore channel by clicking on the screen as well. See you next time.
Yeah, nice video overall from Doran. I mean, he hit right on many of the tropes that I've been talking about throughout the expansion so far. Ever since I saw the prey system, and we've been getting more and more into it, I started to think, like, this shit looks shady. Very Sire, Denathrius, Revendreth-esque. Like, there's a lot of similarities here. What's going on? Those floating red crystals were all over the place back then, too. So, we're putting all this power into this crystal. Shady guy in a shady part of Silvermoon doing shady shit who used to be very close to Kael'thas, and you know, clearly there's a connection there with Sire Denathrius. So, wouldn't be a shocker if I think that it turns out, okay, there is actually a connection here. Interesting stuff. Great video here from Doran.